Hey mini bike friends, it's Dan Prozowski from allaboutminibikes.com, home of the XR Rocket Retro Mini Bike. Today I want to talk about vintage mini bike restoration. That's my Golden Pinto 1974. I want to tell you what to fix, what to leave alone, and why it matters so much on that when you do that. When you're restoring a vintage mini bike, one wrong move can tank its value, whether it's changing the originality or trying to build a custom beast. Knowing what to touch and what to leave alone can make or break your project. In this episode here on allaboutminibikes.com, I'm going to dive into that right now. I'm going to tell you the do's and don'ts of restoring a vintage and classic mini bikes, from frame mods to paint choices. Every decision affects the originality, resale value, and how your bike is remembered. What I have here right now is my 1974 JCPenney Golden Pinto mini bike. And if you take a look at it, you'll see it's really scratched up and stuff, okay? But the plus thing about this is that I got it at a great price. It's almost all original. Well, basically it is all original, and it's missing very, very, very few parts on it. So if I'm the type of guy like me, or I'm trying to find the type of guy like me that wants a mini bike, then they're going to want that mini bike, if it's a classic and a vintage, as much as they can in its original condition. Like, this is very scratched up and painted, right? But that's the paint that came on it when it came off that factory floor. What's really important and great about this bike is that I have the original decals on there. The Golden Pinto. You can look up here and see the original sticker on there telling you not to ride it on alleys and sidewalks and things like that. I've got original tires on it, rims, wheels, scrub brake, the original hand grips, shocks, the original seat, motor. Everything on here is original except one thing, and that's the exhaust pipe right here. When I got it, it didn't have it. So here's what happened. Quick like for you, just like me, my brother found it on Marketplace. Saw it. Guy wanted some money, wasn't a bad price. I really didn't want to get a mini bike because I was already trying to finish up our project bike, XR Rocket. I went out there and took a look though, because the guy only lived about 30 minutes from me tops. He was a person that knew enough about mini bikes, but just didn't really care. He knew it was a 74. I told him it was a classic. Yeah, but it wasn't even running. He hadn't rode it for about 3 years since he had his driver's license, and he just wanted to get rid of it. The exhaust was missing. That was it. And of course, we're going to try to start it. He said he didn't start it for a while. So in the case of this here, what I got is a historical vintage mini bike. I don't want to jerk with this too much. What do I mean by jerk with it? Everything can change. Now, it would look really nice if I took it, sanded it down, and repainted it. I could take pictures of the decal and do measurements and get everything exact and put it on it. But then it lost its originality, and that is not good unless I don't care to get much money for it. The more original I can keep it, a collector will pay more for that. Now, it'll be really good and easy to sell if I take it and I take everything apart on it. I get it sandblasted. I then get it powder coated, put the stickers, decals, everything that I had made back on it. Now my price just went up a lot, okay? And I got to find the right person, or I'm not going to get my monies back. And that's just the money, meaning you got to figure your labor in there too, okay? That makes a difference. As soon as I start changing parts on here, let's say I get new grips, why would I do that? I got original ones on here, but anything like that, then it's going to change the value of it. So I've got two values right now. I leave it like this, I sell it like this to the right person, I can get some pretty good money. And the second version is that I take it, get it apart, sandblast it, have it painted, all that kind of stuff. Now my cost goes up on there, but I can still get a pretty good penny for it. I saw one go for about $3,000 online that was just repainted and restored. Now you could also take a mini bike, say it's this bike or any other bike, and it doesn't have the seats. Maybe the shocks aren't there. The foot pegs aren't there. You might even get something where the wheel's missing. Definitely the motor missing. Then what's going to be is a mod. So you're going to run around. If you try to get it back to original, run around getting the parts for it, that's going to be very hard to do. So then you're going to turn it into a mod bike. You want to get the parts you want on there that you need, make them fit, and hopefully you'll find somebody to buy that. But it wouldn't be an original. It could be a JCPenney modified Golden Pinto. Talking about parts, the only thing that mine is missing, I thought I didn't tell you, besides the exhaust pipe that I had to put on there, is the kickstand. I'm going to try to find an original kickstand for that. If while doing a mod, you also go away from the paint color and try to do a different paint color, that makes a big difference. As well as if you take a torch and start cutting something off or putting something on. You get different fenders you put on there, that's gonna, because maybe it didn't come with fenders, for instance. Well, you got different fenders that you put on there. Well, guess what? For originality that way, it drops the price. It won't be worth as much. But just trying to get it put together, maybe have fun on it, ride it. Maybe you're going to put a 212 motor on here or bigger, then you can do that. But again, with resale value, it's going to be so-so. And then the third version that people get, well, they'll get a bike, maybe it's basically just a frame. It could have been from a Rupp, a Sears, a JCPenney, any of that. They'll get that. It'll be basically nothing but the frame, or maybe the frame and the wheels, and then they will take it, and they will take it from there and just make it into a nice bike, a nice running bike. If they're mechanics themselves or whatever, they can do that pretty inexpensively. Maybe if they get a good paint job on it, they might get $1,000 or so, and that's not bad if they've only got about $500 put into it or something like that. Some people can do that. It might get $1,200 depending on the bike and who and what a person is looking for. One of the biggest things to remember when you're going to get into vintage mini bikes and you're thinking about restoring them, one of the biggest things that you need to know is you have to study the history on them and know a bit about them before you go and purchase one. And you do that so that you realize what it is or isn't worth, what it can and can't be worth to somebody, including yourself, and then how much work you think it's going to take to get that bike where you want it to be. And remember, just because you don't know how to work on a motor or paint or something like that, you find somebody that can, and you find somebody that you can kind of deal with and maybe do cash, and you'll get something done to it inexpensively and a good job at the same time. I love vintage mini bikes so much, and that's why we built one, our XR Rocket retro mini bike that looks like a mini bike from the 1960s and early 1970s. The design, the sharp turn back in there, angles on the frame, folding foot pegs. Some of them didn't have it. We modified ours enough to make the handlebars come forward to give you more knee room, made the frame a little bit bigger. Folding foot pegs, a lot of them didn't. And we went with the drum brake for safety reasons. So as you can see, vintage is vintage. And remember this, one man's gold is another man's dust, and one man's dust is another man's gold. You just got to know what you're looking for, how to find it. And you can find about anything you want on Marketplace or some of the different channels on Facebook and YouTube. You just have to watch so you don't overpay. Friends, I hope I helped you learn a little bit more about restoring a vintage classic mini bike. If you have questions or comments, just leave them below. Really appreciate it. Share with your friends if you can. Subscribe to us also. And tell us what else you'd like to see and know, and then that's what we'll try to do for you, okay? So over and out. We appreciate it. Check out our site, allaboutminibikes.com. From there, you can also get your vintage XR Rocket retro mini bike. Thanks for watching. Take care and ride those mini bikes.